I've witnessed Dr. Brown making rounds with a flashlight at midnight.
Many times on 10, 11 o'clock on rounds at night, he'd say, "Robert, go home." And I said, "Well, I'm on call tonight." And he said, "Well, you go home and see Jeannie, I'll finish up."
We'd leave the hospital together sometimes at 11 o'clock at night, and I'd call him at 3, and I'd say, "Wally, I need you again." He said, "Sure, I'll be right down."
I worked for him for a couple of years. He'd have 10 to 13 cases of surgery every day.
That's just, it's almost unhuman.
Oh gosh, yes, always wanted to, and never have stopped wanting to.
When an irresistible force such as you meets an old immovable...
I remember quite well, at 7 years of age, I wanted to be a doctor. Graduated from medical school in '37, came here to Charity Hospital, where I really planned and wanted to be, stayed there till 1946. And actually, I can remember some of my classmates in Galveston who came by to visit me while I was interning, and they were amazed at what an intern did at Charity Hospital, because they came and visited me, and I took them into the operating room, and they observed what we were doing, and they liked it.
In the days of the old Chumpert, when there were very few super specialists in town, and actually he did brain surgery for me, chest surgery, vascular surgery, orthopedic surgery, just everything. He did it, and he did it well.
I came from a program over in Dallas at Parkland, and we did big stuff. I mean, it's a world-famous hospital. But there was no one in that whole system that even compared with what Wally was doing here in Shreveport, Louisiana. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he was a world-class act. And here, right in Shreveport, Louisiana, things were going on that, and a man was doing things that I don't think anyone else on the globe was doing.
I can't think of doing less than 45 or 50 operations a week up until I retired. And that's mostly majors.
You could take any operation, for example, that most surgeons would take an hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours, and so we would give anesthetics predicated on that. And 20 minutes later, Wally was through. And he said, "Well, boys, time to go home."
When an irrepressible smile such as yours...
We used to go on vacations, and if we'd finally get Dad out of the country or wherever, we'd get ready to come home after being there not more than a week or 10 days at the most. And we'd get on the plane, and Dad would say, "Well, could have done a gallbladder." And he, just looking at people, he could tell, you know, if their cheeks were red or if he saw something that needed to be under the knife, he would make some comment on the way back. I guess he was just itching for a hospital on vacation.
Some's gotta give, some's gotta give, some's gotta give.
And I can remember many nights when at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, I would much have preferred to have been left asleep. And I'd get this telephone call from Wally and said, "Hey, boy, what you doing?" And I said, "Well, Dr. Brown, I'm sleeping." I'm sleeping. And he'd say, "I got a great case here for us, you know. Come on out here, let's have some fun."
Let's see, boy.
Makes you feel good to be around him, and makes you feel like you have more energy. It's hard to mope around when you're around Dr. Brown. One thing he won't put up with it.
When you're doing what you want to do, you're happy at it, you don't get tired. I had 2 shifts of nurses, and I've worn out a good many partners through the years. They've all desired to retire, or at least to change. I guess I worked them too much.
Hi, Dr. Brown.
Hi, Miss Bessie Howe. Glad you could come.
The things that made him great were beyond his medical skills. I mean, he had great medical, technical, surgical skills, but it was his personal relationships with patients. He could spend 5 minutes with a patient or 2 minutes with a patient, and the patient would feel that he had spent half a day.
I wanted the watermelon, not just the picture.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think he realized that.
I've told them that if I had a problem and they were trying to take me to a doctor, if I couldn't get Dr. Brown, just let me die. You know what?
Good morning, Miss Perry.
Wait, it's death.
There's another thing about Dr. Brown. He never refused to see a patient if there was no money. I've called him dozens and dozens and dozens of times, maybe hundreds, and said, look, Wally, this patient needs you. I need surgery. But there's just no money. He said, send him over. And only God knows how much free work he has done in this town.
And I can remember on more than one occasion witnessing him handle a very difficult situation, communicating very difficult bad news. And I would watch him do that, and I could just see the love. I could feel the spirit, the spirituality, the godness, if you say, that was present in that situation. And I would literally be brought to tears. This is God in action through a human being.
Dad had been taking care of Mother for about, I know, over a year this way, just like getting up with her every hour on the hour and never sleeping, day after day after day. So I think that as far as being devoted to someone, he was extremely devoted to Mother.
Why did you stay with her?
Well, she wanted it, and I did too. She died at home, and that's what we wanted. Well, there's some regrets. Everybody has them. I don't dwell on them. Most of my little old regrets are very minor little things, like I was thinking the other day about a friend who helped me keep the horses up at Caddo Lake. Well, he wanted to ride my favorite horse, Houston. I wouldn't let him. Well, I've regretted that ever since.
He's just a wonderful person. I mean, it was a pleasure for me to be with him for 14 years. And I think no one can be associated with Wallace Brown without enjoying that relationship. He gives more in a relationship. He just gives and gives and gives. He's a wonderful person.
There are many other capable surgeons in town, and many others that need honoring. I think he's just special. I think he just stands out a little more.
Until I feel like I'm not helping people, then I want to quit. I can still help people.